at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
All right, we are starting episode 242, the Daily Gun Show. We come to you live every day at 7 p.m. Eastern. That's 4 Pacific, for about an hour or 90 minutes each day. We have 3 gun-related topics, different topics throughout the week. We run it live on YouTube, and we simulcast it over at gunchannels.com. We let it render into a video when it's all over, and we'll take the audio from that, turn it into a podcast over at iTunes and Stitcher Radio. We hope everybody that listens to the show will do us the favor of liking and commenting on the videos. That lets us know who's out there and where you're watching it. It also helps the show get recommended to more listeners, and that's always a goal, so we do appreciate that. Let's see, we have hosts. 4 of us are here today. We've got Dano jumping in from Illinois. Thanks for joining.
Glad to be here.
And we got Z jumping in from the island of Maui. Thanks for joining.
Well, aloha there.
We got a guest host, Jimmy, jumping in from Phoenix. Well, Apache Junction, same thing. Thanks for joining.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for the invite.
And I'm down here in Tucson, so about an hour and a half, something south of Jimmy. So let's see. I'm also simulcasting it on the Gun Website's YouTube channel for a couple of reasons. One, I just figured out that we can initiate and start live audio or live shows from our phones, which is pretty cool. And I don't know if it's coming in sideways or not, but anyhow, it's kind of neat that we're able to start live stuff from the phones. So I figured I'd leave this run for a bit to let people act as a reminder for people that our daily show has changed time slots. We're now at 7 p.m. We're live right now, and of course we're over on the new channel, the Daily Gun Show channel over on YouTube. It's sideways here on my YouTube. Yeah, I can't figure out how to unlock the thing, but I'm going to quit farting with that, and I will get back to just the show in general. So let's see. Today's show 242. We're going to be talking about our Second Amendment issues today, specifically the Hughes Amendment. We'll have our good idea, bad idea segment today, talking about the ATF, and then today is our Q&A segment of the show. So I thought we had some questions come in earlier in the week, and we'll address those. And of course, anybody might have some questions for us today, feel free to use the live comments on Gun Channels or YouTube. So before we dig into the guts of the show, we usually like to take a break at the beginning, see if anything happened overnight worth talking about.
The best animated film ever happens to be Heavy Metal.
Talking about Matt's chat last night.
Yep. So it was top 5 animated movies, and Heavy Metal was unequivocally the dominator. And I can tell by the gravity of the answer, that's why everybody is speechless.
Yeah, I have something to say, but I'm keeping it in reserve.
Okay, so let's just get into the first segment of the show, I guess.
Oh, I was muted. So what is Dano saying? He didn't like that movie, or he didn't see that movie?
Dano has no sense of humor when it comes to stuff like that, if I remember correctly.
No.
There's some cases.
Absolutely none.
And I said when it comes to that particular stuff, I'm not saying you don't have a sense of humor.
All right. So we will, I guess, take the advice and dig into the show here. So let's see. We're talking about Second Amendment issues today. Hughes Amendment. Any updates on it? And I got a whole bunch of links here. These have to do with the Hughes Amendment, or are these other things?
Some of them are, yes. As an example, let's see.
Well, so we have a link here for the White House petition at whitehouse.gov to repeal the Hughes. You can throw that link in there for anybody that might not have already participated in such a thing. I think the general consensus is that they're a waste of time and they're ineffective, and then you're going to be on a list. And
well, I don't know if that's a consensus. I mean, that's certainly a couple people's opinions.
well, can't we consider that since there's let's see, how many more days by February 19th? So we've got about 12 more days, and we have barely 19,000 signatures out of 100,000. Oh no, excuse me. We have 8,000 signatures out of 100,000. Isn't that evidence that the majority of people think this is a waste of time?
I think it's evidence that we certainly haven't collectively done our jobs in getting the message out there and the importance of it.
Well, I guess that's potential for sure, and I don't know how to, how do we?
I think that's an opinion. I don't know that that's necessarily a fact to say that we haven't gotten it out there enough. It takes at least some point personal responsibility on the other person's part to actually do something about it. And we did talk about it yesterday on Matt's chat, I think, for a second, and that some people just straight up refuse to put their name on some idea of a list. And that is what's going to stop a good portion of some of the gun owners in America. But we also provided the point, I think, again, it was in Matt's chat, that, if there's supposedly at a minimum 30 million plus gun owners, and what part of a percentage point is actually 100,000 people that pretty much that apparently it's not that important to people.
Well, I will agree that it's difficult to tell the difference between not getting the message out there and the message being out there yet not necessarily being perceived as actually important, because there is that perception that for many gun owners, and again, it's an opinion, that as long as they have what they feel they need, and I'm doing air quotes as I say this, they're good, they're covered in their mind. And they don't need to do anymore because they got what they need. Not worried about the next generation, not worried about anybody else.
Well, okay. And we talk about the Hughes Amendment, right? We talk about repealing the Hughes Amendment. What isn't technically the Hughes Amendment, the Firearms Owner Protection Act?
That's part of it.
Hughes Amendment to the Firearms Owners Protection Act. So
okay, so we're just literally trying to repeal that amendment to the act. Okay. Which I'm down with. I'm totally down with. So another part to that Hughes Amendment portion, does that fall into the collector that has somehow some perceived notion that their, $30,000 firearm is, to them lose a good portion of its value overnight if something like this happens? Do you think that is stopping some people? But I also want to put that if it is, it's not stopping that many people, because how many people have, numbers wise, more people have like one or two guns than are going to have a Ma Deuce or, a M16 or a full AK. You know what I'm saying?
Right. It's a relatively small group of people that currently possess those types of firearms that are now very expensive because of their rarity, versus people that would like to get that type of firearm for half or less than half of its current cost.
So I guess that's my point. If some of those people are the ones that aren't signing this stuff, I think that there should be so many more of the rest of us that number should pale in comparison to the rest of us.
I like what Z's saying there. Here's the deal, though. There's number one, are you suggesting out of the 30 million gun owners that 28 and 29 million something of them are NFA owners that are so worried about their potential investments?
I'm saying it the other way. I'm saying that is there 100,000 out of that 30 million even?
No. So we're talking, we know how many guns are on the registry, so we know how many, multiple owners there are, multiple guns. There are no gun owners on the registry, so we don't know how many NFA owners there are, but we know it's some subset of the number of guns, because we know at least some people own more than one NFA item. So it has to be something less than the number of NFA items, and that's a finite number. So there can only be so many. And if I remember correctly, it's thousands. It's maybe tens of thousands. I don't think it's hundreds of thousands. But in any case, I don't know if there is a way to know. So to suggest, though, that those people are holding out is giving them no credit for understanding value and giving no one else that credit. So a firearm that was right now transferable means it was made before 1986. More than likely, it was something that was a bring back or something converted before 86, right? But a lot of them are bring back stuff that came in from overseas, souvenirs of war and stuff like that, brought in during amnesties or before the 34 regulations. So these things are very historic, and if they're not bringbacks or something that came back from overseas, they're made during those years. So just like any gun, you know, a Colt from 86 is different in value than a Colt from 96, and that's different from a Colt from 2006. So those guns still have value for their rarity because of their age and their, you know, where they come from, their provenance or whatever. So it's not doing a service to that facet of these things as investments to suggest lightheartedly or just off the cuff that people that own them are against the concept of removing restrictions because that's somehow going to devalue their items. All it'll do is make it so that there's more potential buyers. If anything, it'll increase value on the very rare bringbacks and originals. Just because somebody can make a new Thompson, that doesn't make a World War II Thompson any less rare. If anything,
I agree 100% with you on that. And that's what I was trying to say earlier. Perceive
collectors. It brings more collectors to the realm, and now people that have one or two modern Thompsons really value that World War II Thompson even more so than they ever did as just someone looking from afar. So I think it's the opposite, that those people understand that their items of value, their investments are going to be worth even more once the regulations are removed.
Well, I know a couple of people, and that was not the opinion that they tried to give me, and I tried to explain it to them similar in what you did, because like I said, they may perceive it that way, and that they would lose value and be out money. And I tried to explain to them that I disagree. I kind of tried to go the way that you were just saying, in that the new will be new, but the old is original. So, you know, whether it has the classic value, the originator value, hash marks on a stock type of value, if it's from the war kind of, I mean, like, you know, there's a lot of things that can bring value to these old things. I do want to mention something that Tony does, Artisan Tony says on the YouTube side, and I hope that nobody really gets butthurt over this, but I'm going to say it anyway because I think he makes a valid point. He goes, let's face it, Gun Channel's members are the only ones who give a crap on the interwebs. How many Gun Channel's members are there? So, you know, now I know he's just saying that kind of to stir the pot a little bit, but sometimes I wonder, because I see people having shows and stuff like this and that, and I don't know how many of them I've seen mention some of these
getting your rights back.
But no, the petitions or the take action button or some of these other things where some of these,
they're all about getting our rights back.
Right, but what I'm trying to say is that some of these larger channels or different channels or non-gun channels, members channels, you know, are they out there trying to repairing the Second Amendment, basically? And I think Tony makes a very valid point in that out of the 7,000 signatures on that thing, I really honestly wonder how many are Gun Channel's members, other than the Gun Channel's members that are afraid to be on a list, of course. Because there is a definite number of that. I've definitely been told point blank that by certain members that they do not want to be on a list. I tried to remind them that if they have technically got a driver's license or filled out their selective service, that they actually are on a list. But
yeah, we've always had, and we always will have, freedom freeloaders.
Well, I wouldn't try to say that. I mean, you're allowed to make your own decisions. I'm not going to guilt anybody on, if you don't feel like doing something, that's on you. I don't know that it's my job to make them do it. That's not really how freedom works either, because they're free to not do it.
And if they want to sit in the wheelbarrow while a few people try to push, sooner or later there'll be so many people in that wheelbarrow, it's not going anywhere. In fact, it's going backwards.
Wait,
and that's exactly the situation
analogy,
we found ourselves in.
I didn't catch it. What was
since the 1900s?
What was that analogy again?
The wheelbarrow analogy. If you get so many people sitting in it as we're trying to push it forward, sooner or later there's so many people sitting in it, riding on it, that it will not only stop going forward, it'll actually start going backwards.
Okay, that's interesting, but what is that? The people that are just along for the ride and aren't tugging along?
I call them the freedom freeloaders, G.
Yeah, I call them the freedom freeloaders. In other words, they'll say, yeah, they're for it, but dear God, don't ask me to put my frickin' name to it.
All right, well,
I'm not that.
I don't disagree with your point. I think it's probably an interesting analogy. It visualizes it right or well, but is it then? Do we get to stand back and go, here's the way it is, and we're shaking our fist at it, or do we just build a better wheelbarrow that allows more people to jump on, and maybe 3 people push it, and we move the freaking ball forward and carry on? So we know that a lot of people don't care, but we know that they're also on our side. So maybe it is just a motivation of a few people, and if it is just a bunch of people that happen to gather over gun channels, I don't think that's really the case, of course. I think more like gun channels is just a sample set of the gun population out there, and certain of us are interested in Second Amendment issues, certain of us aren't, and that's just a representation of the greater collective, community or whatever we're calling ourselves. So anyway, if a few of us can get together and continue to talk about this and make rumblings and make it as available as possible for these other avenues that I don't think we're scorning them. We're just saying that it's frustrating that not everyone is willing to pick up the same rope and tug, in the same direction. But if we make it as available as possible, that here's the rope, here's the rope, here's the rope, it's attached to that, and all you got to do is take it with you. And a few of us make it known that this rope exists, then that if these people aren't unwilling to grab the rope, it's just that if you're doing something and it's working, then you're not necessarily looking for every opportunity that comes along to. You have to discriminate at some point. So you want to make, isn't it up to us as the people who are frustrated to try to make it as easy as possible for those people to help out?
We certainly have to recognize that, number one, they're there, and number two, they're reducing our forward momentum. And if we don't recognize that, we're only fooling ourselves.
Yeah, but we don't have to stop to take a head count or whatever. We can rally, sally forth, put our heads down and move through it. It doesn't have to be the end-all be-all obstacle to this. As a matter of fact, if we just even let it be a distraction, that could be a problem.
But even me just being here acknowledges the fact that I believe, and I'm not going to sit back and do nothing just because I personally acknowledge that there's a lot of those people out there. That doesn't stop me from moving forth.
And that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, there's going to be people out there that aren't going to lift a finger. They're going to be apathetic, let alone the ones that are actually going to work against us. I mean, there are actually going to be those people out there, but I don't have to necessarily worry about those people. If anything, I want to marshal the resources that we have that are going in the same direction and just trying to get them to at least look at the same point in the future or the same point down the road. They don't have to take the same path, but we got to at least look at the same point.
But what I'm talking about, acknowledging the numbers. As an example, we've talked just as a number that there's 30 million potential gun owners out there. Probably more, but that's the number we use for the point of discussion. And then we talk about how many people, just in the thousands, not the tens of thousands, that have signed some of these petitions. That to expect that we're gonna get 10 million signatures is not reasonable based off of previous actions. Yet to get hundreds of thousands of signatures is not unreasonable.
Now, I want to address something that Smeggy said out in the YouTube side. He goes, I don't think they hurt us, they just don't help us. And that's why the wheelbarrow analogy doesn't quite work. I might be inclined to agree because, yes, they're not out pushing, but we should have enough resources that their help or non-help does not matter to the overall. In my opinion, of course.
Well, you know, we all know it is a numbers game.
I hear you. But
And
Chris also says out there, you can't be deterred by the lazy and throw your hands in the air. Push them along or carry them with us, and it still looks like a bigger crowd.
But if you acknowledge the reality and then you have reasonable expectations based off the reality, knowing that there's 30 million, but you're not going to get 30 million to agree with you. You're not going to get 10 million. But if you can get 1 million out of that 30 million, that's fantastic.
Well, right now we can't even get 100,000 out of that 30 million,
exactly.
which apparently that 30 million is actually a conservative estimate, which is probably really lowballed.
I don't want to be too discouraged, though. We're talking about
hell no,
modern days, right? So, I mean, literally, this could be a push that gets some.
Hell, it could be one Yankee video with a FPS Russia video. It could be 2 videos away from making it technically, if you want to get like ridiculous. I'm just saying.
So I think for the sake of time, we're going to move on as far as the segments go, but I think that's an interesting one to talk about. We'll continue to talk about these big initiatives. I think this one's an important one. The Hughes Amendment, we didn't really talk about it. We assumed everyone knows what we're talking about here, but this is the last-minute amendment to the gun owner.
To the Firearms Owner Protection Act of 1986. Literally, it pretty much came in just under the wire.
All right, so it dropped out there, but we're talking about the amendment to the Gun Owners Protection Act that prohibited the creation of and importation of new firearms after '86. So it basically effectively stopped the creation of fully automatic firearms, which put a cap on the amount of fully automatic firearms that could be transferred between individuals. So basically, it's what ended full autos. And by removing it specifically, we would be able to create full autos again and potentially, see a big advancement in innovation and stuff as we, recreationally and sportingly use full auto. All right, so I guess, like I said, we're going to keep moving on unless you guys have anything else to throw in there. Jimmy, feel free to jump in, of course.
Okay.
I just want to say that some of our people out there believe that they don't think that there are enough people who are aware of this issue at home. And I think I'm echoing through you, G.
You're echoing?
Through you?
I don't hear it, so I'll mute. I also have a phone sitting next to my computer because we got the other channel running over there as well.
Probably it.
All right, so we're talking about the next segment of the show will be the good idea, bad idea. We'll talk about disassembling or dismantling, I guess, the ATF. And before we do, we like to take a break between the first and second segments of the show every day to feature one of the members over at Gun Channels. Gun Channels is a place we built a while back. We talked about it a bit. It's a community focused on firearms, completely membership driven. And to that end, we like to feature one of the members over there. And I think we got a bit of a theme going on this week. Today it's Yankee Marshall. So I'm sure a lot of people who are listening to this show are familiar with Yankee. I started chatting with Yankee back in the olden days of Matt doing live chats, and became aware of him as a person with opinions out there. We never really agreed, and it always turned into a big argument between us in the text chat, and Matt would sort of moderate it through the live portion. And then whenever we started doing the live chats, the three of us started getting together and usually had interesting conversations and stuff. Anyway, he's got his own unique spin on the whole gun information and entertainment / channel. So like I say, I think most people are probably familiar with him, but if you're not, check him out. And I think he's overall a good advocate for the Second Amendment, right? No comment from these guys.
Are you kidding? You're kidding, right? Of course he's a good advocate for the Second Amendment. He might be kooky in some of the other things that he talks and thinks about, but I don't think there's a doubt at all that Yankee is pro firearms. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess I could have misread it, Because like you ran into Yankee basically back in Matt's Vlog TV, when everybody had a color basically, and that's how you knew what comment was yours. And he definitely, even then, you know, he had his opinion and he wasn't going to back down. He was going to say what he's going to say. And I can, as much as I may disagree with him from time to time, I still respect him for standing his ground, even if he happens to be wrong. I mean, and I will admit that sometimes it does get pretty entertaining having him around for sure.
Yeah, at least my opinion is makes a very entertaining guy, makes very funny videos, very creative person, but also has a unique way of attempting in his own way to have a conversation.
That's a nice way. That's a very nice way of saying it. Very.
It took me a long time to come up with those words.
All right, so that's enough talking about Yankee. We're really talking about gun channels, and it's a place that is built for people like Yankee to do their thing. So we do appreciate his efforts and his support of it all along. And yeah, so we'll continue on. We're getting some good feedback from the both sides of the live chat here on YouTube and on Gun Channel. So I'm going to jump back to the last thing we were talking about there, because Chris brings up a good point. We, as people are motivated, right, need to post info at our local gun shops and make people aware. And, you know, that's something that is obvious, right? It's a slap your forehead kind of thing. But we see a lot of the effort towards the memes and whatnot, the little photos with a quirky saying or something snarky.
Infographic.
Yeah, and I really like the idea of doing some campaigns where we wake up 8.5 by 11, or maybe even, what, 5 by 8, whatever the hell a half of a sheet of paper is, and something that somebody could print on their home printer, cut in half, right, pretty easily, or rip in half or something, tear in half, and then drop off at a local shop. And it could be something as simple as, do you know, want to know more, in a quick URL, like Dano had posted that shortened URL for the big, long, crazy, whatever the real long URL is for the whitehouse.gov petition thing. Dano had it, wherever the hell you put it in here, it was down to like 13 digits or whatever. So something that would be pretty simple to translate from a piece of paper over to a thing, or maybe one of them QRC codes, right? You could print that on there. So all you have to do is hold their phone camera up to it, and it takes them to the website where they could take action. So I think that's something that's worth addressing. Maybe I suppose we have the show notes here. I'm going to throw it into our show notes for a future Gun Channels University type of segment, and perhaps we can put it on the list for an Every Second Matters campaign, right?
Yeah,
I really like it. Every
how
gunshop that I know.
Could Maggie also talk, and then we can have everybody going at the same time?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
sorry about that. But yeah, I was just gonna say, I know a lot of people in my local, man, they don't even barely know how to log into their own computers, let alone get on YouTube or gun channels or anything like that. So that'd really help out.
Yeah, just a direct, like, hey, there's a thing going on. It's on the internet. It's from the White House, and here's how you can help out and tell everybody you know. And that's another thing, is that we all are able to carry on these conversations out in real life and with others on whatever social media platforms we're on, right? So we always say that's the concept of our show, is to start conversations, and feel free to take these conversations on and bring it up with people. All right, so I guess we'll dig into good idea, bad idea. So I'll just take a moment to say thanks to Smeggy for jumping in.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It takes two people to cover for Bob, so we appreciate you guys taking that effort. Let's see, I have to scroll way back up.
Well, and plus it's more of a death match now.
Yeah, so
like
it's
a full on. This is going to be like a full on rumble now, because it's actually there's 5 of us.
There's a sure winner now. It's a prime number or something. So
it's not like we'll be talking over each other.
No, but it'll be like 3-2 or whatever. Like there's no tie this time.
Right. So disassemble or dismantle the ATF. Good idea, bad idea. We'll just start off with simple good idea or bad idea. Am I left? Am I right, Dana?
Robinson. Danger. Careful what you
as
ask
no?
for, you may just get it.
So
It's like
is it a
opening
no?
up the Constitution.
Bad
Did you
idea?
even ask him, or were you going to ask somebody else? He just started talking.
Well, I'm asking Daniel. Good idea, bad idea.
I'm going to say bad idea. Better to go at it as to its individual functions that are not functioning properly or constitutionally than get rid of it entirely, because it does serve some positive purposes.
Okay. So we're just going to try to go quickly through the room, though. So, Z, good idea, bad idea to dismantle it.
Good idea, because those resources could be divided between the FBI and the DEA.
Okay, Daniel. So now,
Hey,
Jimmy, good idea, bad idea. All we're looking for is the 2 words. Good idea, bad idea.
The ATF as itself, right? I think it's a good idea.
Okay, Smeggy, good idea, bad idea.
Good idea.
Okay, I'm thinking horrible idea. So now we know where we're at. Z, wait, it's me and Dano against the rest of y'all?
Yep.
no. I said it was a bad idea. Or, excuse me, I said it was a good idea. You're correct.
Okay,
Yep.
so now we know where we're at.
3.
Now we can all dig into why. I just figured it'd be quick to, it wasn't actually quick, but I thought it might be quick to go through and figure out where we lined up.
I just want to say for the record, I did what I was supposed to, even though my answer had caveats. I still just said 2 words.
Right on.
Yeah, but you went last.
All right, so why do you guys think it's a good idea? Do you think it would disappear? Obviously, you don't think the responsibilities go away, or would you also, is that assuming that the responsibilities, the tasks that they were responsible for would also diminish?
No, I don't. That's where I would say it's a good idea, but it's not as good as everyone thinks it is. And the fact that you're right, the same enforcement and stuff would just be done by someone else. I just think that because, the FBI already does the background check thing. So why does it have to go through the ATF first and then go to the FBI? Like, you save resources by consolidating. So I think it would save money by doing it. And then also, given the DEA the drug part of it, they're capable of doing it. They already have the staff. So I think it just kind of saves money in the long run. I would love to just get rid of all the regulations, but if they still
You can't move
exist,
the work over without moving over the corresponding personnel to get that work done.
yeah, but you can get rid of all the middle managers and stuff. I mean, there's benefit to consolidating things as far as, money saving is concerned.
That is true.
So
I feel
yeah,
like
some of the same agents might still be employed, but you don't need 5 different managers from the FBI and 5 different managers from the ATF and 5 different managers from the DEA. You just have those 5, and they would just be in charge of more people. So
Good job, Smags.
yeah, I would be interesting to know why you think it's a horrible idea. Like I said, I don't think it's Butterflies and Rainbows idea, but as a whole, I think it's okay. So why do you think it's horrible?
All right, so to begin, I've been reading the chat, so I didn't absorb 100% of what everybody was saying there. So, but you're asking me why I think it's a horrible idea, and then Dano can say why he thinks it's a horrible idea. I think it's bad because I don't want to see the responsibilities divided up between other entities. I want to see its responsibilities dissolved. I don't think we need any of the part of it. So I'd like to not just see it dismantled. I just want to see those obligations disappear. There should be no federal agency for any of that stuff.
Well, I agree with you in that aspect. That would be the ultimate goal, but maybe tactically, would it be better to get rid of the agency and add them on to something else just temporarily, and then come back and say, hey, Mr. FBI, you're busy catching like serial killers and stuff. Do you really want to be messing around with someone who shoulders a SIG brace? Just get rid of that regulation. That's worthless. And they'll be more likely to give up those things and get rid of those regulations because they're sick of dealing with it.
You don't have history on your side, though. They like that. They thrive on. They look for. They thirst for. They require more responsibility so that they have more obligations, so that they can get paid more and they can spend more of our money.
The more justification.
Wow, what fucking warped world did I just walk into?
Uh-oh.
What the fuck, man? You're saying that a person in the FBI thirsts for the ability to have inane rules to enforce, because they are a cruel individual. Like, that is what you just said, man.
I don't think you meant it necessarily.
No, not necessarily.
An individual decided to work for the government in that form, and then they got stuck in some job where their job is to regulate free people.
See,
on what
again,
property
I
they
think you're
can
going
buy.
Dano, dude.
All right, then I'm going Dano.
Well, I'm just saying you're twisting it to formulate the scenario to solely fit your agenda, and I don't know that in reality that's the way it works. I mean, I have met people in the FBI and the DEA and a couple other service branches, and you know what? They weren't assholes. They weren't power seeking, maniacal, Machiavellian, fucking ruin your world type of people.
I think you're blowing out of proportion now.
I am now. I am now.
Some credit.
Well, here's the deal. So somebody's job is to go stand in line with a bunch of jerks. They decided to have that job and go stand in line with a bunch of jerks. If they decided to go work for their uncle and then got like...
You already have a bias and assume that they're all a bunch of jerks.
What? No, I said there are jerks. And I said if they went to work for their uncle and then they got like pushed over to have to work for a bunch of jerks, they chose to keep working for their uncle. So yeah, I think at some point you got to say, look, you're taking the paycheck, you got to take all the responsibility that comes along with it, the connotation. If you're getting paid to regulate gun owners, then that's unnecessary in my opinion.
If we want to look at
just getting paid to regulate gun owners, they're also getting paid to regulate the alcohol, the tobacco, and all of the other stuff that the ATF does.
Which
it's
I think
not
is
just about firearms.
I also think that's unnecessary. That's why we're saying, do we need an ATF? No, we don't need a special regulatory agent for tobacco, for crying out loud, or for
And the
alcohol.
actual question was dismantle or disassemble the ATF. Good idea, bad idea. We've kind of switched it a couple of different times.
well,
Like, that's why I said that it's a good idea to disassemble the ATF and relocate the resources in the way that Smeggy was talking. That's why I was saying it was a good idea to disassemble the ATF.
Yeah, and I think that's the first step into getting rid of all the regulations in the first place.
Yep.
Just like I think, as much as I'd love to get rid of the NFA, I think getting suppressors off the NFA is a good first step to getting rid of the whole thing.
But I think getting rid of the laws is how you get rid of the regulatory agency.
Of the governmental organization that you're never going to find them, let alone know who to email, let alone what department, let alone where the hell are they to resolve each issue independently. They're going to be spread out all over the place.
No, then actually you'll go to either the DEA for the alcohol and tobacco, and you go to the FBI, which is the investigative division for the firearms. Which actually, when there's actually, crimes with those things on a federal level, the FBI actually is investigating that stuff.
Well, unfortunately, the FBI or any other organization is not one solid organization. There are departments inside departments located in different regions all around the country.
Correct. And I'm not hoping that they go to something where they have literally a garrison every 20 miles from each other so that they can stomp out any problems that they may see. That's not what I'm trying to say either. Efficiency of use is what I'm looking for. Streamlining. You know what? I'm not expecting them to actually save my tax dollars. I'm not so naive to think that. I just want them to spend it on stuff that I want them to spend it on. I want them to be able to utilize more stuff with my tax dollars, because I know that they're not going to spend less of my tax dollars, even if they do dismantle the ATF. They're going to spend just as much, if not more, of my tax dollars. I'm just hoping that they spend it in a more productive manner, is what I'm hoping for. So again, I stand by the good idea to disassemble the ATF.
So I'm going to go back and address mine as the bad idea, because I think Smeggy said it best, I'd rather see the ATF be gone because of the removal of the legislation that requires regulation and enforcement. So if you remove the laws that require them, then they vanish. They don't need to be redistributed anywhere.
But that's still disassembling the ATF.
No, it's removing it. It's just, it disappears. When we say disassemble it, or then that usually means take its responsibilities and distribute them to the FBI or whoever. And that's what I'm saying. I don't want to see that. I'd rather see the laws that create the ATF disappear, and that's what I like to see.
Which is going to be easier, recreating the laws or perhaps moving manpower?
I think the laws, because when you redistribute manpower, you're reaffirming the government's responsibility and right to regulate. And when you attack the laws, you can attack the bloated government agency that's also fallible and is also vindictive and is also run by individuals with agendas. So you get to point at all of the bad things about it, as opposed to having to like pry it away from the individuals who have jobs. If you try to go after the agency and say that you don't need the agency because we don't like the laws, well, they get to say, well, the law exists, we need the agency. If you remove the laws and you say one of the reasons we don't need these laws is because it creates a bloated, bureaucracy that's vindictive and bad.
And again, that is not part of the good idea, bad idea question, but I see where you're going, G.
Well, that's why I just tried to take it in that way. I mean,
basically, in essence, G, you are saying it's a good idea to disassemble it. You're just saying don't transfer the power. You're basically saying no, like get rid of the ATF is what you're saying.
I'm saying that it's a good result to have no ATF, but I don't think that going after the ATF is the way to do it. You don't go after a regulatory agency. That makes us look like criminals. It's too easy to spin that as what are you trying to hide? Instead, I'd rather see no ATF by removing the laws that create it, that justify it.
And in the meantime, we've got the ATF.
What'd you say, Dana?
I said in the meantime, I'd rather just see the ATF gutted, because I think you're right. Trying to get the agency will literally go to war to maintain its power and its budget. All federal agencies do that, whether it's the military or the civilian parts. They have to spend the money they have today to justify the budget for next year.
Well, and that's where I think if you team them up into like with the FBI, then I think it's almost easier to say we're only taking like, because I agree with that point that everyone needs to justify their job. And they want to justify more jobs so they can hire more people so they can get more money. I agree with that. That's a very good point. But I think this way, when you're going against the ATF saying, we're going to get rid of all these regulations, we don't need the ATF, they're going to fight very hard to say, you're going to just get rid of everybody? No way. We want to stay around. But if you transfer it to the FBI and then say, well, you don't need 100 people, you can do it with 90, and they'd be like, but we want our budget high. It's like, yeah, but we're only taking away 1% of your total budget, so you're still getting a bunch. And they'll be like, okay, we'll give you this one thing. And then you'd keep chipping away at it, because it's not going to, the FBI is not going to go away just because you get rid of gun laws.
I think you need to look at it as a hostile corporate takeover, and then when somebody like Gordon Gekko comes in and he disassembles the parts of a company or whatever, that's basically how it would need to happen. That's when part of the company is going to go to the FBI and part of the company is going to go over to the DEA. It's just one of those things. Like, it happens, and there's ways to do it where it ends up working in an efficient manner. And we might have the businessman to make that decision in office currently.
Yeah, well, I don't think that's something that just one person can decide, though. I mean, I think because Congress is the one that sets all the spending and stuff, so they could just be like, you know what, dude, we're not going to give you guys any more money. We'll give a little more money to the FBI, and they can figure it out.
Yep.
So as much as I maybe agree with you as far as the business guy thing, I can't stand.
Oh, he can't do it alone. No, I didn't mean to imply that.
The one person thing.
I'm just kind of saying technically the Republicans do kind of want smaller government and everything like that.
Theoretically.
Yeah, there you go. Not technically. Theoretically, you're much more accurate with that. Yes. So, with this 600 days we got, I mean, wouldn't this almost be the one and only chance we get? I mean, the one guy did actually, whether he was in the House or in the Senate, did propose a bill for dismantling or disassembling or dissolving the ATF. Like, it's already out there.
Right. And I have to say, when I first...
Let's find that bill and add it to the wiki, because I haven't found that one yet, but I think I have heard of that one too.
Yeah, I think it was a couple years ago. I think. There we go. But
no, it's new. It just like within the last 6 months.
Reintroduced it because there was one a little bit ago. And
wait a minute, which bill?
To get rid of the ATF.
It's news to me. Okay.
But anyway, like, and that's one of the ones where I know when I first heard that, they're like, they're going to get rid of the ATF. I was like, awesome, because I'm on G's side. Great, get rid of all of it. And then I heard the whole, they're just going to transfer responsibility. And I was like, oh, I'm not as excited. So I don't know if I'm arguing against myself right now. I might be. But I do still think it's a good first step. It's just not as good of a step as what I think we all are in agree what the final end result is. Because I think none of us really want gun laws to begin with, because the ATF's unnecessary.
All right, so with that, I think it's a good transition to talk about windbreakers, something we're all familiar with. We're all excited to talk
Well,
about.
I'm wondering, I mean, should we transfer windbreakers to...
You should seek cover.
We could, from a far distance, there's a rainstorm.
I think so. I think that's get in your shelter, your
Yeah,
turnip cellar.
Well, I think that might be put a second windbreaker on. Like, this might be a 2 windbreaker day.
Put on your galoshes.
All right, it's time for the tactical pop quiz of the day. So I know you're all anxious and ready to get to it. So here we are over on YouTube. Get your cursor down in the text box. Get ready. Limber up those fingers. Those of you over on gun channels, do the same. So my referee, have you seen the question and the answer?
Are we already going to tell the person that doesn't get a chance to answer to not answer?
Well, yes, and that's a great thing. Is I want it once again, because I've done this a couple of times already, probably have a few more as well. I want to thank Dead Horse for contributing this particular question, as well as several others as well. So thank you, Dead Horse.
I thought you said it was angry.
No, he submitted some additional questions. We haven't gotten to them yet.
Excellent.
But today's Dead Horse.
Do you guys need me watching something, or am I off the hook?
Just look in a mirror. Tell yourself you look fantastic.
Okay, I was just offering help if I needed it, but you guys don't need it, so okay, fine.
We're good. All right.
Okay.
So I shall read the question
You're
twice.
screwing it up, Smeggy.
If I don't get interrupted, I'll attempt to read it twice. Okay, the question is as follows. What was Eugene Stoner's last weapon that he designed? What was Eugene Stoner's last weapon that he designed?
John Browning is incorrect.
11 thumbs up is incorrect, but good job. Keep hitting the thumbs up button.
Yep. Smash that thumbs up button. I believe Glock 17 is incorrect as well. No guesses. A knife. AR-15. Colt 2000 is correct, Mr. Matt. I don't know what happened to these two, but Mr. Matt.
Colt 2000 was indeed the answer. You are today's tactical pop quiz winner. Head on over to dailygunshow.com/pop-quiz. Fill out the form. Put in your first, second, and third choice for a patch. And congratulations again.
Way to go, Matt. That makes you the tactical pop quiz hot shot for today. Good job. Way to get back in the winner's circle, bro.
Who won? Where?
Matt on the gun channel side.
And I believe even if you don't want a patch, I believe you're still encouraged to fill it out just so we can keep track of the winners.
Yep.
That's something you guys are still doing?
Yep.
So, which I think Matt knows that by now, but just for people in the future, if you win, if you still want the credit for winning but don't necessarily want the patch, that's okay too. Just fill it out so we can keep track of you. And then what? Just say, like, I don't need the patch or whatever.
Wait, you mean we're putting somebody's name on a list? What?
Oh, snap.
What? Really?
So are you saying that we should disband the daily patch giveaway?
I don't know, G. Do you burn that list
That's
at
why
some point?
I purposefully never won because of that.
Every 10 years, I'm supposed to print the list and send it to the bureaucracy of list retention.
I think it's the redundant Department of Redundancy.
There used to be something called What's Your Store Number? And I think it's What's Your Address should certainly replace the What's Your Store Number.
Well, I give my address to anyone on the internet that wants to send me stuff.
I might send it to a obscure P.O. box, perhaps. I'm not putting my address out there. That's just me.
Well, I'm not fancy enough to have a P.O. box.
Shit. You haven't had to move enough lately, then.
Speaking of fancy places, I guess we're going to talk about the gun shop of the day. So every day we like to talk about a gun shop, talk about shops that we visited or shops that people are sharing, visitors or listeners to the show, or people that want to contribute to the gun shop reviews. Can send in pictures or links to their YouTube videos or whatever. So today we're talking about gun shops that we visited in the tour in 2012, and we're still in Maryland. So we're talking about Atlantic Guns. I think they have a couple of locations after talking to Marco. He's a big fan of this shop, I think. And this is one of their locations. Pretty cool spot. You can see from the outside, it's kind of nondescript or whatever. It's not real flashy, but once you get inside, it's just wall-to-wall guns. So, oh great, I have one picture. There's a bunch of other pictures I guess I'll have to post. But you get an idea from this that it's basically every square inch of the place, and it's a fairly large shop. You can see here it's a couple of storefronts, so a couple of thousand.
And this is not to be confused with Atlantic Firearms, correct?
No, it's just called Atlantic Guns, so it's not the big, what are they, importer, distributor, or whatever. This is
right.
Just a shop. I guess, like I say, it's a chain of shops. But lots of accessories. They had quite a few semi-autos. This was our first experience with a gun shop in Maryland, and man, I wish I had more pictures.
This was pre-change too, clearly. Yes.
What?
Well, when Maryland came out with their assault weapons ban, and you can't buy those things these days, correct?
Oh yeah, I guess that's true. This was in 2012, and it was still a surprise back then.
I mean, I'm looking at that underfolder right there, which looks great in your picture, and I'm just like, well, they can't have that no more, or they can't purchase that, I believe, in state anymore.
No. And I think these are probably
which sucks.
20s. Looks like these are all 20s in these guns. Yeah, nice store. They let us BS for a while, and we just kind of talked about those stuff you talk about when you're visiting a shop, and saw plenty of customers come in. So they're it's usually an indication that it's a good shop. So anyway, we got a link to it there. Feel free to take a look at it, and I'll be posting some more pictures here now that I've seen that I don't have them all listed, and get an idea of what that shop's like and what a shop's like in Maryland. All right, with that, I guess we'll move on to the next segment of the show. And again, encourage anybody that wants to participate in the gun shop of the day to let us know and send in pictures or links to wherever you've posted stuff about your gun shops. And remember, you've got a camera in your pocket, so pretty much every time you go into a gun shop, you see something unique or something interesting, just make sure it's okay. Ask if it's okay to take the picture, and then share that with people. Let people know what's out there. So it looks like we're going to lose Dano here in a bit, I think. So we'll jump into the movie of the day, just in case Dano has seen it. So every day we try to mention a movie, ideally something you have not seen in a while, or if you're a youngin', you probably haven't seen any of these movies we're talking about. Today, it's one that I know Z has not seen, so I'm curious to see if Dano has seen it. It's Carbine Williams.
I don't remember seeing it. I was actually just going to go check out to see if it seemed familiar at all.
Now, do I have a link to it right there? I think I do. So I will drop the link here. It's the entire movie from 1952, and it is pretty cool. It's the Jimmy Stewart or somebody, I think, is the story of the guy who invented the M1 carbine.
What? Really?
Yeah. So it was made in 1952, and I imagine the story is interesting. I can't remember if I've even seen the movie, but when we were looking through, or when I was looking up the movie, I found that version of it online. You can just watch it on YouTube there. No commercials or nothing. So enjoy. And if you find a better place to watch it, let us know. We'll link to it. So this one, I guess we can't really give it too many thumbs up if none of us have seen it, but that's the whole point, is to remind people of movies that they haven't seen in a while, or movies they might have ever seen. So maybe we're all the youngins here. This was from the 50s after all.
Well, and what you said, Jimmy Stewart or Jimmy Cagney?
Stewart, the guy from all those other movies.
You mean the guy that was an actual real deal war hero guy? That guy?
Mm-hmm. Probably used him in carbine.
Yes. Yeah. He was in the Army Air Corps.
No, he probably didn't use the carbine then.
I bet you he could shoot one. But yeah, I just ended up saving it for later. But I'm gonna potentially just give it I'm just gonna give it one thumb up. Not even seeing it.
Well, it's got to have at
with,
least one.
with a second thumb up to come at a later time.
Right on. So feel free, Jimmy or Meggie, give it a guest host thumbs up or not, and we'll just go ahead and give it two vigorous thumbs up from Bob, because I know he'd be all over this thing.
Oh, yeah. And so I'm going to give it a thumb sideways, because I don't like to comment on something I'm not familiar with.
I got a bookmark for later, so I'll give it that.
Right on.
There you go.
And you guys are both welcome to take any of the topics we talk about in this show and talk about them in your own shows. So why don't we transition into that next? You guys host shows of your own. Tell us about them.
I do the early watch. Usually it's, 9 a.m. Eastern, I think. 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific. I'm not sure. 100%.
Started in the morning though, and then
yeah, that's it.
There it is. Yeah, we usually run it till the afternoon, about 6 hours, 5.5, 6 hours, something like that. Anyone's invited to come on down. It's pretty much we keep topics, but it's pretty much an open chat.
very
Yeah,
cool.
I really like that early watch. I listen while at work, and it helps my day go by.
For sure, yeah. I was listening all the time while I was getting prepped for the daily shows. We do daily show right after, so now it's even better. Now I don't have like something to do, so it's just like having the radio on in the background. It's pretty nice.
And that's, if you follow along in the text chat, I mean, they're pretty good at, reading the comments out and then, talking directly to you. So you can kind of jump in even if you can't join with, microphone and all that stuff, which I get the feeling a lot of people do that because they're all sitting in offices or something.
Yeah, and even on YouTube now. Before we weren't checking YouTube quite as often, but yeah, I'm staying on top of the YouTube side now too. So
Right on.
very interactive.
Very cool that you're putting in that kind of time too. Definitely appreciate it. Thanks for everybody who I know listens to our show that listens. Who's want to pass on their thanks. So then, Smeggy, you guys have been doing a show now for longer than we've been doing this show, I think. Every Tuesday.
Yeah, I think it's coming up on a year here now. Every Tuesday, 9 o'clock. It's called Hit or Miss over on Gun Channels. It's on Night Strike's YouTube thing, but just watch it on Gun Channels. It's way better.
That's tonight, so that's in just a few hours, right?
It's about an hour from now. Yep, I already have the email link. So
that means that we should. Well, let me cut you off there and say thanks again for hosting that show. Again, one of the reasons we built Gun Channels is as a platform for people doing their projects like these. We're also stepping right on the neck of Andalusia Armory right now, I think. So we want to apologize for them. We're going to continue to do that on Tuesdays. We started this show to do it in the daytime, basically, at the noontime show, to kind of test the waters and see what kind of response we got. As a year's into it, we're deciding to move it to this later schedule. And one of the only real conflicts with this time slot is the Andalusia Armory show, which is a gun shop in Andalusia. Why can't I ever remember? It's
Don't you say it.
Alabama.
So I can't remember. I can't remember Alabama. I was going to say Arkansas.
AAA, dude. Think about it. AAA. Just that's the easiest way to remember.
Then what the hell I wrote Alabama.
But it is an example of how if just because whether there's a lobby out there or there's a topic chat out there, if you're not necessarily interested in what's happening, there's nothing stopping you from starting your own lobby, your own topic chat at the exact same time to talk about something different.
I would like to throw the baton over to basically Andalusia Armory and say that whether you're watching us now or them now, you can, since you're probably subbed to both channels, you actually can just watch, the other one after you're done with this one. I mean, nobody's going to stop you. They're still going to be just as funny.
Yep, or vice versa. So yeah, we definitely do.
Yep.
We do acknowledge that we're stepping right on their neck, and it was not necessarily intentional, but it was unavoidable because we had to pick a time when it worked for us. So we're going to do that on Tuesdays to let people know when they're starting their show. So we'll end right around the time they're ending, I think. Well, actually, not really.
I think we run over.
We'll run over them a little bit, but we'll end right in a good transition time for Smeggy to jump over to.
And this is the only show that I'm aware of that runs 5 days a week, and every day we have a tactical pop quiz with a prize.
or more. Some days we have 2 and maybe even more than that.
Yep, you never know.
But let's also not forget to thank our Patreon supporters, people that make this show possible and have really taken it to the next level. So I don't know if it's from the urging of Yankee or if it's from describing our show or a concept of the show more thoroughly and having the new Patreon set up. But we really do want to appreciate everybody who's participating over there. And since we're talking about the daily patch giveaway through the Tactical Pop Quiz, we're also giving away patches to people at the $3, I think, podcast level, or $3 per week level. And as we get more people involved in that, we're going to start giving away probably a patch for every 3 or 4 people that are part of that. So because it costs us about $20 for the patch. So something like that. We'll be giving out some of those randomly to people that help keep the show going. So in addition to the daily pop quizzes, which I guess you have to have a little bit of knowledge or at least a good internet connection for, ability to Google, these are completely random and just another way that we can say thank you to the people that keep the lights on. And it's beyond keeping the lights on at this point. It's really encouraging. It's given us all a little pep in our step and letting us start thinking about taking it to the next level. So hopefully you'll see that in the execution of the show and the stuff we're going to be able to include.
Yeah, well, I just want to say one more thing on just the Patreon. I know I had my eyes opened up with it's per week, even though the thing says like $1 per episode. It's not like $20 a month. It'd be $4 a month if you did like the $1 mark, and you can put a limit on whatever you feel like. But you guys explained that I think last week, and that's when I was like, oh, well, I want the patch level thing, so I'm up at the $3 level because I want a chance to win.
Yeah, because winning feels good.
Yeah, Z, I don't think you've gotten yours yet, but it's in the mail already, so it feels like.
Well, do you know which one I wanted?
I'm assuming.
Okay, then that's cool.
All right, so with all that said, we will continue on to, I don't know, gun of the day.
Sounds good. I think I see somebody out in the chat that was really excited for the gun of the day today on the YouTube side.
Really? So.
Oh, dude, like truly excited.
What is this gun? Who even came up with this gun?
You know, it wasn't me, dude. I have no idea what it even is.
All right, so I'll screen capture it here. I'm looking at it on the internets, and it's some kind of Russian. It's a KS-23 pump-action shotgun, 23mm shotgun. The Russian prison system loves them. So I think this must have come in as a suggestion from a listener. So thanks for that. And I don't know, maybe give us some feedback. I don't personally think it's obligatory to give a person's full name out every time they suggest something. So I kind of tend not to do that. But let us know if it's something. If it's not, if that's rude, for example, then let us know and we can start acknowledging.
Well, I'm going to say that I'm totally the opposite. I'm throwing somebody out under the bus then, because it was before we were talking about dentistry, and yeah, it was Buzz Bombs Gaming and Guns was the one. I think that they were hoping that their gun of the day got picked, and they said it was the KS-23. Now, if Buzz Bomb Gaming and Guns out there on the YouTube side could give us a little background on it, or why it happens to be such a excitable firearm to them, that'd be awesome.
I mean, it definitely looks kind of neat. It looks strong.
What do you think's going on? Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. It looks super beefy. And that right there is a semi-auto, yeah?
That looks like a 4-shot semi-auto, and I guess it's not even a 12 gauge. It's a 12 point whatever, so.
Oh, geez. They have actually different gauge shotguns over there? Are you kidding me?
Well, they're freaking European, so of course they can't use gauges. They got to use millimeters.
I don't even know what that. I don't even know what that means.
To know the diameter of, you know, a 1/12 of a pound of lead.
They're stupid, so they have to do it in millimeters because they can count that on their fingers.
So does he like it, you think, because that's a short-barreled shotgun, perhaps?
But not probably over there, but yeah, here it would be, for sure.
Oh, yeah, that's what I meant, actually. So I wonder if this is a particularly, if it's a video game gun, if it's from a video game that everybody's out there playing.
I'm assuming so. Probably one of them, or more. Although I don't know. I guess
because there was a longer one and there was a shorter one. You just, as you're scrolling through there. No, if it's the pistol grip one.
See, this one
Numbers
has
to
the
use.
Publishing KC23M on it, so imagine that sticks in the back here. And it's got some kind of adapters for putting up here, I'm thinking.
Probably launching tear gas and stuff.
I bet.
It could be. This could just be like a grenade tube, and then you put a blank in there and it shoots it.
He's saying it's a pump gun.
A pump. I guess it could be. This could come back and pump over all, or shroud over all this, I guess.
But wouldn't that cover the ejector when it does that? The ejection
Well,
port?
just the bottom. It's probably a bottom load, and then it ejects out here like a Remington, right? So when you pull this thing back, it slides over this. You can see a little.
Well, look
wear
at the
Okay.
picture right above, in the middle there. It's over the action and everything right there.
Oh, yeah.
Look at that crazy breach. Stupid Russians don't even know how to make a gun.
Yeah, what name one gun the Russians have made that's been like pretty cool and used like everywhere in the entire world.
Exactly, you can't come up with one, so it's an indication of that.
Now, what do you think that if they put that stock on there, what's that going to feel like in your shoulder, G? Literally that wire T.
Only a 23 millimeter or whatever, so it's probably not that bad.
Oh, so is 23 millimeter? What is that then? Is that a 20 gauge or 28 gauge, a 26 gauge?
I don't know this metrics, but I'm guessing it's going to be much more than 2 9mm.
Okay, here you go. It's not a video game gun. It's got a grenade launcher, and they made armor-piercing ammo for it. So that's where some of this level of excitement's coming from, I believe.
Nice.
And then also, Angry on the
It's
other side is saying you can
6.27.
attach a grenade launcher to it.
It's the equivalent to a 6.27 gauge.
What? So it's the other way. It's huge. It's a monstrous round.
Damn.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean you could tell by looking at it, it's bigger than a 12 gauge, but
It's bigger than an 8 gauge, dude. It's something that is going to put a very large hole in something.
Unless it was made for deploying bean bags and gas and other.
Okay, then we'll put a huge hole in it, but it's going to put a very large beanbag into something.
Well, and on the other hand, it does look pretty beefy, so it could just be for throwing tons of lead.
Damn.
it uses a rifle barrel.
I'm starting to like this gun more and more, fellas. I don't know.
The KS-23 is a Russian shotgun, although because it uses a rifle barrel, it is officially designated by the Russian military as a carbine.
I guess here's the guy holding
Jeez.
it. I was going to say it would be nice to see a guy holding it. This doesn't give it great scale.
Well, that's also the longer barrel version, it looks like, as opposed to the ones we were looking for where it's got just a pistol grip. Okay, nothing about firing a 6 gauge or 6 1/4 gauge. Oh, there it is.
There's that
Yeah,
thing
with the
up
pistol
in
grip.
bottom. It's like, so it must be kind of goofy to shoot that, I imagine.
Yeah, but I bet you want that stock on there then. I don't know, you want to fire that with your just a pistol grip, man.
I'm glad they fogged out that guy's eye, because think of what we could have done if we would have seen that guy's eye right there.
We would have known exactly who it is. That's Misha or something.
But here's what they do in Russia with it. Oops. How come this thing's being weird? This is what they do in Russia to it with it.
Oh, I don't think that dude should move. I think he should comply right now because that's going to be overspray is what's going to happen right there. And then there's going to be a crater in the ground on the other side where his skull used to be.
I think that shot would hurt everybody involved.
Dude, you think about how much... Hey, now, I think how much cement fragments that's going to throw everywhere.
I'm just
Yeah.
going to think Russia.
Why are you just leaving it there, man? What's wrong with you?
What Russians do. I'm just showing pictures of Russians. All right, so I think that's part of the whole concept of the gun of the day. We're not necessarily going to educate you on it. We're just going to tantalize you with it and give you the info on it. Like you can go look it up yourself. And I don't know, maybe there's somebody out there that has one. How cool would that be? And then they can do a video on it or something and share it with everybody.
I would like to thank the guys out there in the chat who did suggest it, because you know what? That's pretty different. That's great.
All right, with that then, I think we will transition into another segment. So,
Gee, do you know where they can send their suggestions for the show and stuff like that too?
There's probably lots of ways, but probably the easiest way to get a hold of us would be to send it to dailygunshow@gmail.com. That's our email. It's pretty easy to remember, and I think we have links for it occasionally here and there.
Yep.
I just want to mention one more thing on this gun. The barrel for it was made from 23 millimeter anti-aircraft gun barrels that were rejected due to manufacturing flaws.
That's
so when they rejected a barrel, they're like, "Oh, this isn't good enough to go on, like whatever, some type of anti-aircraft thing. So we'll just hold it in our hand instead."
No. What they did, Smegs, check it out. Those anti-aircrafts are like, what, 4 feet long or whatever, the barrels? They're literally just cutting the good part of the barrel off and using that and throwing the shitty part away. That's wow.
Cool.
It was designed in the 70s, so.
I like that aspect. That's
yeah. Start hand loading those. I like it.
All right, so that was going to lead us into the Q&A segment of the show. Did we have some questions that came in? I guess I'm thinking last week. So I did see one that came in. Did I get kicked out? No, it's still there. So I'm sure you saw somebody, Bulldog from the YouTube side, I think earlier said, I'm sure you saw the white letter from the ATF. I was very surprised something that pro 2A came out of the administration. What do you think? I'm encouraged by it for sure. It's a letter from one of the higher ups. It's a white letter. I think that just means it's like a internal document to,
internal memo. You are correct.
To kind of officially get some communication going in whatever process they've got. And basically there's a lot of good stuff in it. I think the guys on We Like Shooting did a good job of breaking it down. We just barely saw it before Matt's chat, and then We Like Shooting started about an hour later. They had a little bit more time to check it out, and they intentionally, cover things like that. So I forget the guy who does that part, talked a little bit more about it than what I was able to research. I just saw the one article about it on some blog, but the actual letter itself was leaked, I guess, or whatever they say. So, the whole verbiage is there, and there was quite a few. There was quite a few interesting things in there. So, I think it's super encouraging.
I'm gonna say I was encouraged by it, but at the same time, just something he said of it. See something so pro 2A coming out of the agency. Well, that they didn't want it to come out, right? So it's like there's one of those. The dude might be pro 2A, which is awesome, but that's still not their official stance, like they. So that's kind of it's kind of disheartening, and it was more like these are some things we could do because it's dumb that we're doing this already, and whether they take his advice or not will be, will still be seen. But I think someone had mentioned the other day. They were basically like completely blown it off. Like, it's just some guy. It's like, no, he's actually kind of high up. So that part, I'm going back to being encouraged by it. So a dude high up agrees with us on a lot of different things.
Right. It's like the opinion. Let's be real. It's just the dude's opinion, but it is the opinion of the third in charge of the ATF. So, if there is a chance to be able to run it up the flagpole, to run it up through the chain of command, there is more of a chance. I was going to say there was more of a chance that Trump would see it, but since it is, air quotes, leaked or what have you, clearly Trump is aware of it to some degree now. I mean, how could he not be aware of it? Do you think that somebody refused to tell him? So if anything,
well, I think that's asking a lot, though. I mean, Trump is now in charge of quite a few departments, right? So that's
but it does put pressure on the acting director of the ATF, because now we can say to him, hey dude, your own people want you to stop doing this, how come you're not? And then he's got to backpedal and say, well, maybe
he has to be directed. For the most part, doesn't he have to be directed to change enforcement policy?
Yes.
Well, I think he gets to make some decisions. I mean, that's...
Oh, he does get to make decisions, but as far as enforcement policy, I don't know that he can do that on his own.
Well, he can do whatever he wants on his own, but he's going to get reprimanded as soon as his boss finds out about it. He's still...
Okay, that's an even better way of looking at it. But I think it's a positive thing. It shows that at least there's some people out there in the evil bureaucracy that is out to hurt us on any given day with their struggle to maintain the power, that at least there's one guy out there that's not a bad guy, or he's less of a bad guy.
Hold on.
Well,
Yeah,
that's a good point. That's bringing it back to our conversation earlier of how all the agencies just want more power. This guy's going out of his way to volunteer giving up responsibility and giving up power. Like, this is stuff we could stop doing.
He's still a bad guy because he's getting paid by them, but
No, he's not a bad guy. Stop that.
But it's better than seeing a memo going around talking about a bunch of garbage, 180
And here's the other thing. If he sent this memo out during the Obama or Hillary Clinton rule, this dude's fired. Let's be honest about that. That dude, for even if a memo that got leaked or whatever and it only went to wherever it was supposed to go, like, that dude just lost his job. At least there's a potential with this regime that he doesn't lose his job.
Well, he might not have even written the letter if he would have gone some other crazy ass way, right? So that's good.
Right. Oh, yeah. I can almost guarantee he probably wouldn't have.
You say he might have been asked, hey, put together your thoughts on what type of little stuff can we do? Like, find any little regulation we can twist in our favor. So it could have been a completely different letter.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think it's a good thing. I mean, obviously it's not policy or anything, but it shows what they're thinking about. And if they do even a tenth of what's listed in there, that's a win for us. And we just got to encourage them to do the rest of them.
I just feel like I need to apply for a government job just to piss G-Webs off.
Well, I'm going to take a line from SLC Punk and say, it's not selling out, it's buying in.
There you go.
Easier to change the system from inside than outside.
Word.
All right, well, it's getting
so maybe that could be movie of the day one day.
SLC Punk 1 or 2?
Is that what? Is it
I
2?
didn't know of 2, so I'm going to say 1.
Okay.
Is there any guns in it though? There's some reason a revolver, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's really a gun movie. Is there even a gun in there?
For some reason, I was a revolver in it, but I don't remember anymore. It's been a long time since I've seen it.
I haven't seen it in a while. But anyways.
Right. So let's see. So that was the gun of the day.
Tip.
Again, for the suggestion. Anytime somebody wants to suggest something like a gun of the day or the gun shop or the movie or any of that stuff, like we said, our email is dailygunshow@gmail.com, and we welcome all suggestions. So yeah, healthy tip. Try to remind everybody that the most important part of the gun is the part that pulls the trigger. With that in mind, let's see. Today is target 2,000 calories, then less later on. So whenever I started to get healthy, that's one of my tips. I just decided, I don't know, I think somewhere it says regular adult male is supposed to eat 2,000 calories a day or something. So I said, okay, I'll try to pay attention to how many calories I'm eating. And then at some point I said, okay, that seems like I'm eating a lot, and I didn't eat that many, so I wasn't doing anything. So I started eating less. And once you eat healthy calories, that's super easy. So I guess that goes in line with eating healthy. But
yeah, I would say I wouldn't necessarily worry about that hard number, because it does very much depend on.
Well, the concept is just to give, to be aware. And then once you're aware, you're monitoring, I guess. And then it's real easy to just reduce.
Oh, I agree with that. I'm just saying that some people like have in their head it like has to be 2,000. I've seen little tiny people try and do that. It's like, that's way too much food for you. And I've seen big people going, that's way too little. You're actually starving yourself. You got to go down slower. Like,
well, and think about Michael Phelps. Michael Phelps was burning a 7,000 calorie a day diet. Michael Phelps.
That's some athlete, though.
Yes.
Well, all right. That's not normal people.
Okay, but it's a point that Smeggy is making.
Yeah, no, it's all. I just wanted to put an asterisk next to that specific number, but I totally agree. Keeping track and then aiming for something, and then once you get there, aim for something else, and then once you get there, aim for something else. Like that's a good way to do it. You can't just go from eating cake for dinner and then having one apple the next day. It's like you can't do that to yourself. You have to work down slowly.
Yep.
I don't know, but I've been told that the people in the ATF target 7,000 calories a day.
They definitely target our cake. I know that.
Yeah.
They're stealing our Second Amendment cake.
They only target the rum cake. Jesus fucking Christ, gentlemen.
Oh, that takes us right into the evening time. It's a good thing we have a late time slot. Sorry for all the children listening.
Gun channels after dark.
Dusk. Right at dusk. And I do apologize for the foul language. It's just sometimes every once in a while things get a little out of hand, and
You're nicer in the morning.
I am much nicer in the morning.
All right. Well, I think that is a good way to end it on that note, as Matt would like to sum it up. You know what we're missing? All the Dano stuff. So why don't we do? Somebody want to do gun channels today?
Gun channels today. I'm just gonna guess at it all.
Tuesday night, 9 o'clock.
Yep, we got hit or miss. We actually have one of the illustrious hit or misses with us currently, and he was just saying we also have. If you did miss Andalusia Armory, go back and watch it because those guys are fantastic.
It's pretty cool. It's a shop in
Alabama,
and they after they close the shop, they open up a card table there. They open up the laptop. They go live and they BS about what it's like, living in the shop. They've got some other interests. They're in bands and stuff, so it's pretty cool. And I think it's one of those things that people, when we do the gun shop of the day, every once in a while we'll get some feedback. Blah blah blah. My gun shop suck or whatever. This is an opportunity to be right there in the shop with a bunch of cool dudes at a gun shop.
Yep.
So I think it's a pretty cool insight. And plus they're in Alabama, so they've got their own thing going on, and it's a little different than, just different perspective than we're used to seeing from.
And you ever notice, dude, they ain't ever trying to sell you nothing.
No.
They're real. Like, they're just sitting there shooting the breeze with each other about, like you said, whether it was projects that came in, things that are going on in their area, who walked into the shop today, some of the things that come and go through and stuff like that, or something that they saw funny on the internet. Like, they're just three regular dudes, and stuff gets pretty funny from time to time. That's Andalusia Armory. So if you did miss it today, you should definitely watch it. Again, hit or miss is coming up probably shortly, if I had to hazard a guess, like within
half hour,
40 minutes. Okay. And then I also believe on Tuesdays we do got Big Gunner 81 tonight. Yes.
Usually. Yep.
Usually. Okay. And then tomorrow, Jimmy, we got you in the morning. Yeah. We got the early watch.
Absolutely. Tomorrow we're actually going to be starting, I believe it is 9 Central. So that would be 10 Eastern.
Yep. So
tomorrow we're starting at 10 Eastern.
Excellent. And much appreciation for everything that everybody out there puts forward. We do appreciate it. It just makes Gun Channels a better place to hang out, better, and more members, the better. The more voice we have, the greater response that we will get out of things. So just saying.
Yep, definitely a time to be active. We're going to do our part to keep the troops riled up. So appreciate everybody that participates in that end of it. And I think that'll be the end of show 242.
Front 242.
Just saying. So we'll be back same time tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. And like they just said, there's other good stuff happening over on Gun Channels right after this. Again, thanks to everybody who's watching us live. We do appreciate the participation in the live chats. And thanks everybody who's thumbing up the video tonight, and we'll thumb it up over on the whatever it is, little harder star, whatever it is on iTunes. We don't have enough of those ranks yet to even get a number, so we don't know how many we have yet. So we appreciate everybody that's helping us get the new channels going, and again, that helps get the show recommended, and it's obviously working. We're getting more and more people listening to us live, so yep, we do appreciate it.
And at the end of the show, if Bob was here, this is when he would tell you we'd like to end the show on a quote. We're thinking about you, Bob. Hopefully everything's going well for you. And basically, it's an unknown person, but the quote itself is, gun control is like trying to reduce drunk driving by making it tougher for sober people to own cars.
The guys and gals of GunWebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thanks for watching GunWebsites.com.
I sure know you. Everyone.